We talked a little bit about the diastasis, how to do it, the hypertonic pelvic floor where it's just overly rigid, and the Kegels is such a like misunderstood thing. So many PTs I know still recommend Kegels. And while if someone's just completely untoned throughout the pelvic floor, they can be appropriate at times, but it can also make problems worse. And so unless you're seeing an internal PT, I don't recommend them. Even if you are, when do you have enough tension in there? And at what point is it becoming detrimental and you now have too much tension? And that's really why I tell people to stay away from them. There's like the exercises that we have up, it's going to help do concentric and eccentric, and so you can relax. And there's just so many better options than Kegels, which can be really risky and create problems. And then that's also where the fascioplasty comes in with a tight and rigid pelvic floor. It's a fascial issue too, right? It's that
I have the same thing. Like, again, my original training was actually women's health, but then I spent years and years in sports, and I look at it just like, I see somebody that I know because I work on them, they have terrible adhesions right in their shoulder, and then I see them in the training room like compensating, and like, if your body physically can't do it, you're never going to contract your way to the result. You know what I mean? And I think the same goes true for the Kegels. If you already have like sort of a matted, balled up. So when we think about that visual that I was showing about contractions really being more like this instead of like this, if it's already in, I'm going to call it a contracture, fascia, whatever, it's tight.
Yeah.
What in the world is this range of motion going to do? Nothing. And I always tell people, like, don't listen to this person or listen to that person until the tissue can contract. Why would you?
When you're like this is not strong. This is super weak. So a tight pelvic floor is like so weak and so dysfunctional, right? And I've seen a lot of people. So if you have the diastasis, I do recommend avoiding the front planks, the crunches, the sit-ups, V-ups, things like that. And I've seen some people recently say, oh, it's fine as long as the abs aren't, distending when you do them. And while I know that's true, I do know how most people exercise on their own. And I actually don't feel comfortable telling people to do the front planks and fully engage and not have the abs distended, just because most people don't know how to do it on their own. And I think, like, while some people, yes, might be able to, I think it's kind of a risky exercise to tell people to do on their own. If they've already got those separated abdominals, why are we going to do something risky? Let's do things that we know have been proven to
risk benefit.
Yeah. So I've seen some people post on that lately, and I just have to disagree, because I always go with, like, if you're doing stuff on your own, which I want you to be, let's go with things that are pretty foolproof, right? That they're not going to injure you, they're not going to cause stuff worse. And that's where with the fascioplasty, it's fantastic. And I want to get back to the diastasis, the pregnancy, and the breathing, because I know with the fascioplasty, we're going to use it up by the ribs, which is so incredible. And people don't understand that pelvic floor and the attachments all the way up with the ribs. And the core and the diastasis and the breathing that we talked about. And I have a 15-year-old who came to me recently, had seen a PT for 6 months. And I told her mom I was going to do a full body assessment. She's like, oh, she did one. Well, turns out she didn't know. Really didn't look at the body like I did. She's definitely got, like, her feet are affecting her. She's got the shallow breathing, right? And so then she had some rib pain, which her mom just signed up for the challenge. She and her are going to be doing the challenge together. And she's so excited to fascioblast that area, because that is a huge area for her that's really tight that people don't think about.
And they certainly wouldn't associate it with the pelvic floor or the feet.
No.
But
now she is, because I've been working with her.
The body doesn't know that it's system. The body just knows it's a body.
Yeah, for sure.
So when we come in and we go, oh no, body, you're actually ribs and you're actually a pelvic floor, and God forbid our medical system that only lets us treat what the diagnosis is. We end up shooting ourselves in the foot, because it's healing the body. Any part of it means we need to heal the body.
100%. I feel like I had horrible shin splints in college. So that was over 20 years ago to almost probably like 25 years ago is when like I went to the best PT in Seattle. They gave me orthotics. I didn't know anything I know now then. They gave me orthotics, had me do some exercise, nothing more. I was in so much pain. Then when I really started learning about more like fascial work, corrective exercises, and really restorative, more therapeutic, I started doing foot exercises, and just really restored. Like my shin splints have been a thing of the past. I'm a neutral runner.
I think what people don't realize about fascia, and this is super, super important, it totally relates to your shin splints, compartment syndrome, anything like that. Our fascia reacts, okay? So you cut it, it reacts. You have a stressful phone call, it reacts. You pound it on the pavement, it reacts. So our fascia is really there to protect us, right? This is what we know. And so, if we are doing damage, even it's as simple as maybe our foot turns out a little bit. Okay, well, 25 million steps later, the fascia is going to be like, not good. Let me tighten everything up and make sure they don't get injured. And that's the same thing that happens throughout, oh my God, pregnancy and
driving. I always tell people driving's the worst. You have your right foot turned out, constantly pressing down on that pedal.
Challenging the chain all the way into the psoas. And then why is everyone's hips jammed? Oh, I don't know.
Right? So
driving.
It's so great. I mean, I just know like you and I are both like all of our tissue, the muscles, the fascia, it's supposed to be strong, toned, responsive, and elastic,
That's right.
And when it's tight, and I know as we age, I mean, you and I were like middle-aged now, even though some of my friends don't want to admit it. I'm like, we're considered middle-aged. I'm
well in the middle age. I'm like getting AARP letters.
And I'm fine with it, but I'm like, our tissue becomes less responsive as we get older. So it's so important to have preventative exercises and fascial work that you do as part of a daily or weekly routine, because I don't want to be that 6-year-old who's hunched over. I don't want to have back pain when I'm sitting on the floor with my kids or one day when they have grandkids. And so I know the time I put in now on my fascia and the movement and corrective exercises, not only does it make me feel better now, it makes me feel better years from now.
When I look at people, me and my boyfriend talk about this all the time because he's a little bit older than me. So we're in that headspace of, okay, what about the next 50 years, right? So we live in a place where people live to be 100. And I'm like, I don't want to live to 100 unless I'm fully healthy. I want to be out in that ocean. I want to be doing yoga, And when we see people who are bent over, which is part of aging, or even if you just look at ultrasounds of people's fascia, it just gets thicker as they age, but it doesn't have to. When I see that, I tell him, I'll nudge him and I'll be like, oh, I wish we had like a TV show to take these people, because that's a choice. We don't ever have to choose that. There is no reason for us not to be put in the coffin in perfect alignment with no humps.
We can be. And that's where it's like you have the right tools. People don't understand the right tools are just so powerful. So I'm so excited. There's so much other stuff that we can do together, which is just exciting for me.